Hey there, everybody. PT Pop here with all four lobes of my brain securely bound behind my back. And today I'm going to compare and contrast two microphones, the CAD E100s and the Rode Podmic. So about a year ago, I bought two Rode Podmics because I had opened my own studio and I was having guests into my studio and I wanted to have two decent, inexpensive microphones. So I bought the Rode Podmic. And that's this one right here. Right now I'm speaking to you through my CAD E100s. I bought this several years ago for about $200. This is a $100 microphone. This is a $200 microphone. And when I first started to use the Rode Podmic, I was really impressed with it. I was like, wow, this sounds great. It's just awesome. And then I plugged it in at another time, and it just sounded really weak all of a sudden. And both of them sounded weak. It didn't matter what settings I used. It didn't matter what microphone cables I used. It just sounded real soft. And I had to do a lot of post-production to get the levels to come up in my recordings of my podcast. So what I wanted to do today was compare and contrast the two microphones, because this really ended up being a lot softer, not a very powerful microphone, and I guess you get what you pay for, because it was only $99 before taxes. So right now I'm speaking to you through the CAD E100X large diaphragm supercardioid condenser microphone. I purchased this for about $199 about 5 years ago, and if you go over to this is B&H Photo, you can buy the new version, which is the CAD E100SX, for about $172. And right now I just have some basic, this isn't dry, this has got some effects on it. But as you can see, it's about 6 inches off axis from my mouth, and it's a pretty strong signal. Right now it's coming in at about -10 on the decibel meter here on my screen. And it's a decent microphone. The CAD E100SX is, it's labeled as being a microphone with a large diaphragm condenser element and can be used to record a wide variety of sources, including vocals, percussion, and acoustic instruments. And I've had a great experience with this microphone. It's a little bit touchy. It's you have to keep it off axis because it picks up the plosives and the it's really not something, you have to be really careful around it. And now the other microphone, the Rode Podmic, is a $100 microphone, and it's listed as being, a decent microphone. And all the reviews I read on this microphone prior to buying it were really decent. And they promote it and they say, searching for a broadcast grade mic for podcasting, the Rode Podmic delivers the silky pro quality you demand. Whether your podcast requires raucous screaming or something more intimate, Rode Podmic will tackle it with ease, delivering a balanced, easy to listen to sound that guarantees to elevate your presentation. I don't know. The Rode Podmic is a cardioid dynamic broadcast microphone, and I beg to differ. Okay, so right now, what I have everything plugged into, I have everything plugged into my Rode Caster Pro. This is the first version of the Rode Caster Pro. Channel 1 is my CAD E100S. Channel 2 is my Podmic. Now, if you go to Channel 2 where the Podmic is, they have pre-programmed setups, and one is specifically designed for the Rode Podmic. So I have the Rode Podmic on this, and then on microphone number 1, which is my CAD E100S, I have that set up for a dynamic. So let me give you a sample. First, I'm going to give you a sample with the Rode Podmic and how that sounds. So I'm going to mute channel 1 where my CAD E100S is. And now I'm talking to you through the Rode Podmic. And we'll keep it right off, like I'm talking the center, and it is coming in just over minus 30. And if I'm right on top of it, if I get right on top of it, it comes in about minus 6. But if I'm out here like this, you can barely hear it. It's just really soft and it's really weak. But if you're on top of it, I'm going to guess that it's a balanced sound. And I know they're two different microphones, but this one, I don't want to have to be on top of my microphone because the plosives and things like that don't come through. But even this is too low, really. I mean, I'd have to be on top of it all the time, and I've been talking like this. And to me, it's just like, okay, I'd rather be out here talking because I don't want it to be like, I don't want to have to eat the microphone to talk into the podcast. And if you look here on, let me switch over to and if you look in here, this is the Rode Podmic, and it's bouncing in somewhere around minus 18, I guess, if I'm right on top of it. Now, if I'm away from it, it's way back here. So if I happen to have a guest on and they're talking way out here, they're talking off to the side, they're talking way back here or way here, I've got to do a lot of work in post-production to bring up the levels. And my goal in my podcast is to try to get it done in almost in one take, to cut back on the amount of work I have to do in post, because I just hate having to sit there and edit sound and edit everything else. So let's try the other microphone now. Let's go over to, I'm gonna mute channel 2, which is the Rode Podmic. We'll unmute my E100s. I'm sorry, my E100s, my CAD E100s. And right here, I'm about 6 to 8 inches off of it, off axis. It's a minus 10. And I think it's got a nice balanced sound. There's a little bit of static in there that I can hear when I talk. And I don't know what that is. I've always had it with this microphone, so it's quiet. So there's no sound when you're not talking. It's a very quiet microphone. And now if I mute the E100s, and I'm talking to you now on the Rode Podmic, I'd have to really crank this. Either crank it or just be right. Even if I crank it, if you push you hear a little noise. There's a little bit of a hiss there. But you still don't get much of that increase in sound. And I don't know why. I don't understand. When I first started using these microphones, they really worked well. I thought they did. But something's either happened in the few months that I've had. I've only had them for like 9 months. Maybe a year, at the most a year, but I think it's only been about 9 months. But they're just not, even if you say I push it all the way up, I get nothing. There's just no response. And again, I'm not Mr. Technical here, so I'm not going to go into a lot of the technicalities between the two microphones. But let's mute the Rodecast. Let's put them both at the same level. Put them right in the middle. The Rode Podmic is right in the middle of the slider there. Let's mute that one. Now we're over to the CAD E100s, and it's bouncing in right about, when I talk in a regular voice, about minus 8, almost up to minus 5. And if I really crank it, it's really sensitive. It's really up there. You can hear, and if you're on top of it, you sound like Howard Stern. Hey, baby, can I eat some bologna out of your ass crack? That kind of thing. So I guess my point to this is, they're two completely different microphones. But if I were you and I was starting a podcast, I don't know if this is the best microphone for a podcast. I just use it because I had it. It's very sensitive, and I like it. I like the bassy sound of my voice. This is very balanced and level sounding, but you have to be on top of it. You have to literally just be on top of it. You have to just eat this microphone, and it still doesn't register very high. Well, what I love about this one is you can keep it off axis, you can keep it out of the shot, and for an extra $100, you have a better microphone that lasts longer, has a better sound, and you don't have to do much in post. My concern with this one is you can hear there's like this little hiss sound when I talk, and it's not loud in between talking, and if I turn it all the way up, See, I've got it cranked now. It's a very quiet microphone until you talk, which it can be a problem. I think the hissing might come from something wrong with the diaphragm, because there's, I think, it looks like a 2-inch diaphragm in this. Let me see. It's a CAD E100s large diaphragm supercardioid. How big is the diaphragm? That's what she said. It looks to me it's about 2 inches in diameter. And I think this one also picks up some sound from the back. The Rode Podmic doesn't really pick up any sound from the back. It's designed just to, I think, more or less pick up sound from here. So you have to kind of be on top of it. But still, I don't think you should have to be eating a microphone to be, I'm right on top of it with the sound cranked all the way to 11, It shouldn't be like that, I don't think. But that's just my personal preference. I mean, if you're on a budget, the Rode Podmic is fine. But if you have an extra $100, I would get one of these for yourself. If you're going to have guests on, and you want the Rode Podmic and you don't have a big budget, I would get the Rode Podmic. But tell your guests they just basically have to sit on top of this thing. They just have to talk right into it. So I don't use these anymore. I'm probably just going to get rid of them. If anybody wants to buy them, I'll sell them to you for $50. But I might hang on to them just in case I need a backup microphone. I've got 2 of them, but I never use them. I always use this, or I use another Rode microphone I have, which is a tube mic. But that's it. I would take a look at these. They sell the CAD E100s on BPH Photo, or B&H, I'm sorry, not BPH, B&H Photo. Or you can also get these microphones. You can get the Rode Podmic on Sweetwater and CAD E100s. I'm sure you can get it on yeah, I don't think they sell CAD audio on Sweetwater. But I would get CAD on, I found it on B&H Photo. It's $172 there. I think it's in stock. They must have come down in price. And there you have it. There's my compare and contrast between the CAD E100s and the Rode Podmic. If you like this video, give it a thumbs up, subscribe. Thanks a lot. Have a good day. Bye.